I got the tractor beam out of commissioner. This is going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit it!
Oh, hey, what is up, everyone? Or nobody, whoever's watching or not watching. It's kind of an impromptu stream. We weren't planning this necessarily, but I just got back from vacation and had the opportunity to pick up Salacious Crumb from I had it dropped off at like a FedEx or something like that. So I got him. He's in the house, so I'm gonna unbox him and pull him out, see what I think about it, and we figured we might as well jump on and chat a little bit and hang out. So, yeah, how you doing, Jason?
Doing good. A little bit of a head cold, so bear with me if I sound a little stuffed up. I got my trying to stay clear and fresh for the conversation. But other than that, looking forward to seeing your. I'm excited for you to see this. It's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to watch it, but to actually have it in hand. So I'm really excited for you to look at this, set it up, and have see your first response to it. So
yeah, I'm excited too. He's gonna go back in the darkness back here. I still gotta figure out how to light this up. But he's gonna go somewhere next to Chewie, and the idea is eventually to have the chess set around Chewie.
Yeah.
With him. I think he's going to go over this way. So that'll be really nice. I'm looking forward to that. But just so people know, we might have to mention this a couple times. I didn't get this thing. Like, we had the opportunity Tom gave us the option, with the commission. He gave us the option of getting it shipped a little bit later with the actual packaging, or actually doing something where we can just get, what's it called? Just get like the Sal just shipped as it is, as he is. So,
which is still well packed and safely done. But what choosing to get it sooner rather than waiting a couple extra weeks was basically you were foregoing the die cut,
right.
Styrofoam insert, which I think it's one of those things where the fact that we all have, me and Chris picked it up in person, but you skipped it, Steve skipped it, I think Gabe and Lee skipped it. They all chose to get it without waiting a couple extra weeks.
I think so.
So that goes to show that despite the fact that it's going to have better packaging with the die cut and the proper inserts and whatnot, these are arriving well packaged, safely, and they were made in such a way, as we showcased the first time, to be assembled and to minimize or alleviate completely the chance of damage.
Yeah, and
as you mentioned, the box was what? Basically bulletproof.
The box is freaking impenetrable. Like, it's a beast of a box. And it came in two packages. The at least the one I got with the base in a box, and then the salad and everything else in another box. I've opened them very minimally. So, just so everyone knows, like, I haven't done a full on check to make sure things aren't broken or anything. So let's just hope it goes well. If there's anything that I need to get fixed, or, I'm fine with it. It's not a big deal. Like, that's the great thing about the Salacious Crumb that they're putting together now, is if an arm breaks or an ear breaks or something, they have those, they're all pieces they can send you separately. So it's actually really, really nice. And so anyway, I guess I can get into it. If anyone wants to hit us up with any questions or anything, if you see anything you want to chat about, just let us know in the chat, and we'll get to it.
We'll go from there.
Yeah. Anything else, Jason? You want to kind of let people know how this came about, I guess?
Yeah. So again, it just was one of those projects that some people had showed interest in. I think there was a couple different people who had interest, and just like any project of Tom's, I don't know if we mentioned this last Monday. I don't know if a lot of people realize that when you see an edition piece, even CZ, that came from the idea of somebody wanting to commission a CZ
Right.
and then turn into an edition. And that happens with a lot of pieces, which I think is a great idea and an interesting idea. So yeah, it was one of those things where a handful of guys got together and a few people had put the idea out there. And we all sort of jumped in and made it happen, which is great. So
Yeah.
here we are with the option to unbox them and then now see it as an edition piece, which I think with such a interesting character, such a iconic character, especially for Return of the Jedi specifically. It's just great to have something like this where it's so outside the box. And I know we talk a lot about different companies not willing to take certain chances and certain risks, but this was actually put out by Sideshow about 11 to 12 years ago. I think we figured out it was around 2008, 2009. And it was also sculpted by Tony as well for Sideshow. But I think this time around, he went a little bit further in detail just to give it that puppet look. And it's hard to capture in images. I mean, you really get to see how beautiful he is when you see the images, but in person, there's these nuance of details and small little crevices and little areas that just really stand out and catch the eye that you don't really see in the images or on camera. But yeah, it's just a hell of a piece, and it's another home run by Regal Robot and their team overall. And I think anybody who's looking forward to this is going to be more than happy and pleasantly surprised. And I gotta say, it's a sizable piece, and on display, I know on display it's just fantastic. That alone, right? The fact that you can utilize that or you can remove him from that is a great option in and of itself. But that just adds so much more to the piece.
Yeah. Well, and you can see. Yeah, I'll show you guys this. You can see the texture of the leather. Like I don't know if it's actual leather or if it's.
I think it may be a faux. I think we were kind of joking around last week about it.
It's got to be a faux leather,
but it's spot on, yeah.
It's nice and soft, and it's just really pretty.
So what really got me, Matt, if you look closely at the slab itself, the weathering, the cracks, I mean, it's just like it looks like an actual piece of like stone. It's
crazy.
Yeah.
Like this is nuts, dude.
So Matthew Serio is asking, how is that attached? Matthew, I assume you mean the leather. It just sort of rests on top. It may be, I think it's lightly glued down.
It's got to be.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to give it a nice tug, it would probably lift off, but it's placed in such a way where it falls naturally. It has a natural look to it. It's not like very pressed. And if, where Matt's touching in that area towards the front, where like Jabba's tattoo is, it kind of just lightly falls over the side and has like a natural drooping look. And I think it was very well done the way they placed it. It looks like it's naturally sort of flopped over or hanging over the side.
Yeah, and I'll try to add a little bit more light to this thing. I don't know. The problem is, guys, I don't know how tall the thing is going to sit. I don't know anything. So I'm trying to, I don't know. We'll see how it works when I sit it on there, and we'll go.
I think once he's on, Chris took some decent measurements. I think he's around 28, 29 high.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a thing on me, but Link, what's up, dude? Congrats on your new Kowakian monkey lizard, man. I appreciate that, man. It's good to.
I always forget the actual name, so that's what it is. It's Kowakian monkey lizard.
Yeah.
Like species, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Matthew, I think is this Chris's? Yeah, this is Chris's neighbor.
Yeah.
What's up, Matt? I was looking at Chris's, but didn't pick it up. It looks incredible in person. Yeah, it's what's really cool. It's cool that that Matt actually lives next to Chris, and he can see all these things. He
Oh,
can
it's
actually.
fantastic.
I
You
mean,
just pop over, take a peek.
that's really cool. He can go actually like see it in person. That's got to, because seeing these things. I mean, obviously, we try to show you some things that that at least give you an idea of what it looks like. You know, anybody that does reviews, like let's say Justin doing Hot Toys reviews, or George MC doing reviews of stuff he gets, like anybody showing you reviews, it's just everything looks better in person anyway. It is what it is.
Yeah,
There's
it's
no way to
really
get
hard.
around it.
Yeah, and I know George is actually into cameras. From if I remember one of his shows, he talks about being into some camera equipment. And why that's important is it doesn't matter how good or how well your cameras are. Matt, you know this. I mean, you do filming for a living. You still don't get the full, proper. I mean, everything can vary. It could be lighting. It could be too warm, too cool. So many things are going to differ from what it looks like in person in your environment.
Well, it's also live streaming YouTube. It's
Yeah.
all like compressed and beat to shit by the time it gets
It's going through
people's
multiple filters and
by the time it gets people's eyeballs, it's just it is what it is. So in person, everything looks better, obviously.
But with that said, if it looks that good on camera or on image, you have to keep in mind how good it really looks in person. And I think, anybody watching, or anybody in the chat, someone who owns a previous piece, whether it be the Rancor or a maquette or anything like that, they know that, the difference between seeing it on a live stream versus in person is a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's right. He can, that's something that would be great. If we had somebody's collection that we can just go pop over, look at and enjoy and not have to come out of pocket for anything. So Matt, that's actually a smart move, man. I envy you there.
It's nice. Yeah. I don't have that option. But either way, I mean, guys, look at this. I mean, just look at this thing. It's.
So what do you think? I mean, really, Matt, I know we're doing an unboxing, but just take a minute to take that, even the slab, right? The little dies.
Yeah.
That specific piece in, I was really taken aback by like the cracks, the indentations, how it's in the rock. It looks like a natural piece of stone.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like honestly, guys, it looks like I'm looking at a piece of concrete. Like
it does.
It's. I don't really know what to say. It looks that good. It's got just so people can see, it has number at the bottom 4, and it's got the little whatever things, the soft,
the protector, yeah. So
the soft furniture little things at the bottom to protect it.
And I like how the corresponding number, because the Rancor is the same thing on the bottom of its base. So it has a number that corresponds with the numbered plaque that you get. And this goes back to like your piece is your piece. So let's say, for example, let's just play, theoretics here. If you did need some type of replacement or part or whatever it may be, you don't get the thing replaced. It's your piece. So you get that particular, maybe the arm replaced or whatever.
But they're adjusting it a little bit now, where they're actually piecing the thing out to where they can send you an arm or a leg or an ear or whatever, right? So
correct. But the good thing is with that being said, like, and I don't know how many people know this. So when Regal Robot's doing pieces like this, and I know it seems far-fetched, like, oh, you're doing 150 of them, how can they do that? As somebody who's personally been in the studio a number of times and viewed the process, it does go through I don't want to use the word assembly line by any means, because it's all hand painted, but you have each person who has specific set of qualities. So one person will maybe work on the hair. One person may work on the base. One person may work on, applying the, details of, the coloring and contrast. And with that being said, it's noted. So when you go in, pieces are tagged. It'll say, for example, Matt or Jason or Mike or whomever. So it's not like they make a bunch of tauntauns, throw it in a box and send it on its way. Like when they're working on it, it'll say, this is Mike's tauntaun. This is Steve's tauntaun. So it's your piece. And if you ever need, like you said, an arm, it's going to match your piece specifically because they've noted and marked down the process in which it was done and how it was made. And
Right.
that's something I think we take for granted. And we're so used to a sideshow piece, for example, not to knock them, coming off an assembly line specifically. And what? Bazinga?
Please say bazinga.
Bazinga?
Yeah, you haven't heard bazinga? I think that's I can't remember what it, bazinga.
But the
is that a Seinfeld thing?
No, it's
I can't remember what's from it.
The nerds, the buzzing. I think it's that. But yeah, it's just one of those things where they keep it true to the piece, and that's that's really taking it that step that's above and beyond, and it's fantastic.
It's awesome. Real quick, I was gonna say, Big Bang Theory, yeah. Okay, so Link is saying, yeah, where do you plan on putting it? So I mentioned it before, Link. He's gonna go back on this big shelf here. I think I'm gonna put him closer to CZ3 though, and Chewie's gonna go a little further over here. And the idea is to put the chess set around Chewie, kind of around the base of Chewie, and maybe the middle. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure all that out once that stuff comes in. And I got to figure out how to light the thing up. I'm not quite sure what to do about that at this point. I've thought of different things like track lighting in the ceiling. I just don't have a light in this room. Like there's no actual light. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. So I think when we had finished last week, right? One of the things I said, this particular piece, lighting is gonna play a big factor. Sure. It's not gonna. It's how do I say this without creating any miscommunication? So lighting isn't going to hurt the piece in any way the way you light it, but it will bring the piece to another level if you have the correct lighting. There's something very specific about the way he sits, about the colors and the contrasts used specifically on Salacious, that proper lighting can really bring this piece up another notch from what it already is. And anybody who does pick this up, because there is some time between now and when you receive it, you can take some consideration in reviewing some choices for lighting, because I really think it's going to add to it significantly if you do it the right way.
Yeah, I got to figure it out. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do at the end of the day, but not a huge problem. I'll figure it out. Look, I've needed to light Chewie up for the past or however long I've had this set up, and I'll figure it out when I figure it out. I'm hopeful that I can get something lit soon and it looks good. I just don't want to rush into something stupid and really, really expensive, and I kind of want to just take my time and figure out what to do right. So let me get into the stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see.
So here's the.
I'm really liking the way these are done. The COA. I like that they choose a very particular image, one that we're usually very familiar with or have seen many times, and they're very easy to frame. And
isn't it interesting that everyone has to use the same gray and black Star Wars thing? That's
across the board. Yep.
The thing that everybody has to use. It's so freaking dumb. I don't know. I don't really like it, but same design as everyone
else.
So
Nick was asking, is it based off a completely new sculpt, or did they use the original puppet from the archives to reverse engineer it, like you did with the damaged Salacious characters? So Nick, on this particular one, Tony, the original maker of the puppet for Return of the Jedi, was the one who came in and sculpted it. Now, here's a weird analogy, but just like, if you're Paul McCartney, right, and you're doing a performance and you haven't sung a Beatles song in 45 or 50 years, you just because you're the one who made the song or created it, you're not always going to remember. It happens. So what they did was they went into the archives and basically did extensive research and had lots of reference images and what have you. And one of the primary things about this particular piece, if I'm correct, I think Sideshows is technically 1-1. However, it's a little underscaled. This is exactly 1-1, and that's because they went in and measured every part that they could possibly measure that they felt would carry over and give them the proper dimensions. Specifically, I think some of the more important areas were the eyes. You mentioned you measure the eyes and you get those, measured correctly. That gives you an idea of, how big the head, the mouth, the surrounding area should be. Once you have the head and mouth, you measure the arms and legs. And if I remember correctly, and I know there's certain things that are to be shared or aren't to be shared, but I think Tom Spina Designs may have had a part in restoring or working on restoring Salacious. Don't quote me on that. But just like, most pieces, that gives them the additional upper hand or the additional advantage to get it more accurate and see those additional details that you don't necessarily catch if you're looking at just a reference image or a reference image alone. So having Tony and then having access to archival materials, reference images, and having those exact measurements really allow Tony to take this, to the highest level he could possibly take it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and let's be fair. The sideshow,
fantastic.
The sideshow piece is fantastic. It's great. It's not, we're not, I don't think this takes away from, what that piece was. They did a really great job with it. I think it's all going to be based on how you feel about the piece and your opinion on it. Everything I've seen, I feel like this piece is better, but I can understand. I can understand why other people would want that other piece, and so it just kind of depends on how you feel about it.
But Matt, I feel like this is the one time. So the Rancor, right? We all know that the Rancor is released at pretty much the same time as the sideshow one. But we're talking about two completely different pieces. We're talking about a 1/6 statuesque sort of maquette or however you want to put it versus a 1-to-1 prop replica. And there were so many apples and oranges there. It was really hard to compare and contrast. And it became sort of an us versus them mentality of like, well, this one has presence and this one is meant for this reason. And then I see some people like Miguel, for example, who own both, or PJ, who own both. And because they're two very different pieces and sculpted by different people and meant for different ways of display and purpose. However, this is the one time where you can say the sideshow one, actually, if you have it, I don't know if, let's just say if you're thinking things through financially, I don't know if you necessarily have to make that upgrade because the sideshow one is actually that good. It's a great piece. It displays well. It falls in some areas, even though it has a low edition number, it was still technically a commercially mass-produced piece. And although Tony sculpted it, there's a different, format and the way it was done versus the way it was done with, in collaboration with Tom and his team and Real Robot, because they focus specifically on getting it exact. And
just real quick before you keep going on this, look, I want to remind people, as more people start watching and, different people come in and out, this is not what you're going to get. This is what we told, Tom asked us if we wanted the actual packaging that it's going to go out in or this kind of stuff to get it quicker. And I didn't want to wait. Cause I knew he'd ship this stuff out and it probably will be fine. So I didn't want to wait for it. And so, we got it shipped out like this. This isn't going to be how your situation is. So, they're getting actual, what is it? Is it die cut stuff that they're getting or what?
It's all custom. It's all custom die cut foam. He's going to be placed strategically in a specific way. And, it's going to be shipped like you would see most, statues or maquettes or what have you. It's going to be a little bit more customized versus just, wrapped and set in such a way to protect it. So I think, and this is something that has been being worked on and thought through prior to things that happened, with the last release, it wasn't a response to that. It was already being done regardless, because of the complexity of Salacious and the variations of his parts and the way he sits and rests once complete. So the fact that it was thought through, for quite some time, I think they really met met the challenge and superseded what it needed, that criteria needed in order to ship this thing properly. So I feel confident, having seen the way they, made this thing, that, we're not gonna face many issues if at all.
Yeah, and I just we're gonna say this over and over, guys. So just understand, like that is one of the things that that Regal Robot and Tom don't want you to get mistaken here. That everyone that's getting this thing, the people that commission this, that are getting this early, aren't getting the actual like product as it's going to be shipped to everyone else. And we chose that. That's our decision. That's not their decision.
It was presented to us. We did have the option of waiting a couple of weeks. It wasn't a long time. I think it was maybe a week or two.
It wasn't that long.
Yeah, it wasn't a long time, but like every collector knows, anybody watching, anybody in the chat, we have a hard time waiting. We're like children, and it's just one of those.
Well, because we've been waiting, knowing the thing was being made, for a while anyway. So like,
yeah, the anticipation and the excitement was building, and I mean, we're like little kids. We want it yesterday.
Yeah.
You tell somebody they have to wait another 2 weeks when you know it's coming. It's like, no.
Jeez, this thing is.
Yeah.
This thing is wrapped up tight.
It's well So the difference between the two chromes. So Matt, while you're unpacking, I'm just going to keep answering some of the questions. So the difference between the Sideshow and the Regal, Matthew, as I mentioned, so they're both sculpted by the original sculptor of the puppet, or maker of the puppet for Return of the Jedi, which is fantastic. The Sideshow one, like I mentioned earlier, is technically 1-to-1 scale, but it seems to be just slightly undersized in a few areas, and some of the proportions are slightly off. But again, I think the amount of time that may have been given to the sculptor, or any revisions that may have been made during that process, some changes could have been made for, cost-effective, reasons, or efficiency reasons, or manufacturing reasons, but it just seems to be a little bit slightly underscaled, which honestly, I don't think it's very noticeable once you have it on display, but it is technically a difference. Also, this one's positioned a little bit differently, and that's a given. They didn't want to pose them, exactly the same, because they didn't want to compete. The Sideshow one comes where he's seated on a pillow, sort of like you see on Jabba's dais, where he's sitting on a stack of pillows, or a couple different pillows. This one, they chose to forego the pillow and just put the leather sort of hanging over the piece of Jabba slab. So those are some of the small variations. Some of the larger, more standout differences that you'll see is the eyes on the Sideshow Salacious are sort of stuck on, and they're a plastic eye, which again,
Jason, it looks like he's like, I'm suffocating him in like a movie. Like I'm like,
tell me where it is. So the eyes on the Sideshow one are just plastic. I think painted plastic, if I'm correct, and they just rest on the statue or the sculpture. They're just sort of glued in. Where these are done in a taxidermy style, and they're glass. I think glass or acrylic. I don't know exactly, but if you go to the Regal Robot page, it gives you the breakdown of all the details, but the eyes are very realistic. So when you see the pupil and the iris and the different colors, you see it under the dome of the glass or acrylic, and they look much more realistic. And you even have sort of like the human eye, where around the white part where you see like a little bit of the pinkish and sort of like flesh color, he has like a black line, a black ring that you can sort of see if you look close enough. And I thought that was interesting to give him the taxidermy style eyes because it really adds to the lifelike effect. And I mean, I'll be honest, it's kind of creepy. You know, when he's staring at you, you kind of like, you know, Chewie has these piercing blue eyes and it's Chewbacca. But when you get Salacious looking at you with these, you know, black pupils and these yellow eyes, you're kind of like, eesh. You know, because it's much more realistic. So that's another difference.
Gosh. Finally.
And one last thing I'll just say before Matt gives us his feedback on this is the hair. The hair is another difference. On the sideshow, it's a lot more thinned out and kind of wavy and curly, and the color is much darker. On this, the hair matches the screen use puppet pretty spot on. It's like 99.9% exact, which is fantastic. And it's a little bit thicker, a little bit fuller, looks a little more natural. Yeah, it's a little bit more realistic looking. Yeah, so he said he had saw that and the details at a different level, and it really is. And as good as the Sideshow one looks and as great as it displays, ironically, the Sideshow one's still going for about $2,000-3,000 in the secondary market because it's a very popular piece. But I think at this point, people may stop doing that now that this is available. Yeah, I mean, this is, so Matt, first impressions. I know he's not assembled, but just looking at his face, what are your first impressions?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like his eyes are, he looks crazy. He is crazy. That's the thing. Like he's supposed to look like a freaking crazy little monkey thing. And he does.
Hey, he's about the right chip.
Yeah, and the neck looks really good. Like
the neck is surprisingly just, it really catches your eye. It looks, all right, it's a statue, right? For obvious reasons. Tom is smart enough to know that as much as it would be great to replicate these things like a puppet, it would deteriorate over time.
Right.
This is why he does it in this material. But despite it being this material, it mimics and looks like an actual puppet.
Yeah, they did a great job. I mean, you can see like some of this stuff right here is like all the folding and, you know, the stuff you would get from actual material. Like all
Takatri's saying the fuse lighting really makes the details stand out. And that's one thing, unfortunately, I didn't have. My lighting wasn't the best at the time. Chris's lighting was a little bit better in showing the contrast and colors, but Matt, yeah, that's really bringing out all the little wrinkles and pulls as if like you're seeing the hands up in the puppet. Yeah, even around the eye, the crustacean, I don't want to call it his beak. Would you call that a beak?
Yeah, sure.
It's got a little bit of a shine to it.
Looks like
it's got like a shell sort of.
You can see the hole where the ears go in.
Yep. Yeah, which once the ears go in, that is almost eliminated completely, which is unbelievable the way they did that.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the bumps and creases.
So, man, if you can, just because we get a really good view on it right now, the way it is, if you want to turn him back around and just give us a peek at his eyes.
Like close up or?
Yeah, just a quick little. So you can, this is one of the most significant differences when comparing and contrasting the two. Yeah, right there is a good angle. So when you see that coloring of the brown, the black, those circles, they're underneath. I believe it's glass. I want to say it's glass. I might have to check the details again. And then he even has, like I said, an additional black ring where you can see under the folds of the eyelids. Well, what would be Salacious's eyelids? You can see the black in there. And it's not painted. It's part of the taxidermy process of the eyes.
It's just crazy, man.
See, that's the thing. I love that little smile when you're just staring at it like, damn.
Here's the feet holes.
Yep. And Matt, you'll notice on the arms, so the hair, right, on the armhole purposely lifts up and has like a little lip.
Yeah, I see that.
And so you can hold that and you gotta give a little pressure, but you can slide that in. And it's done in such a way where it hides the seams impeccably, but I really like how they left that little lip of hair to lift and insert. So
you can see all the colors on his back a lot better here.
Oh yeah, definitely can see
all the variations,
the contrasts and variations. Yep.
I mean, they did a great job painting this.
And even the little folds. So like hold it on the side. Yeah, right there. Okay. So this also gives it that quote unquote puppet look where he's kind of hunched. You can see his spine, you can see the fat folds, and sort of the puppet just like resting in on itself. You know, the bunchiness of the belly, you can see the top of it resting on the bottom. Yeah, that's where they just really knocked it out of the park.
It's so crazy, dude.
You know, it's interesting. Chris made a good comment the other night where, remember, we had talked to a few people who said, you know, it's beautiful. However, yep. So there's the I like that. I like how they had the Lucasfilm Regal robot.
I gotta get a
Screwdriver.
screwdriver. Yeah.
But we had mentioned how some people said, you know, it looks beautiful, but I just don't have a connection to the character, right?
Sure.
And that's going to happen from time to time.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of times people just buy stuff based off the fact that, oh my God, look at this, it's beautiful, I have to have it. But Chris made a good point. When the commission was originally happening, Chris had said, I don't need a Salacious in my life, you know?
Right.
I don't want a Salacious. It's not really at the top of my list. And once it was nearing completion and I saw sort of towards the end steps over at Regal Robot Studio, I had mentioned to Chris, I said, well, I think to both of you guys, right? I said, guys, man, you got to see this thing. I said, it's second to none. I said, you can't pass on this. And I think that got Chris, you know, thinking. And at that point, even though he didn't have an affinity for the character specifically, he's just smitten. I mean, he's over the moon about the piece.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this thing is just, it's crazy, dude.
So here's the thing, Matt. This is sort of my thing where every time you get a piece in, we did this with a Rancor. We oohed and we ahed and we drooled over it. And I still do to this day. I look at the thing in it and I marvel at how well done and how beautiful it is. But then you see something like this,
yeah,
and you just you gasp to catch your breath, and it just makes you think like every step further, every new project, every time they take on something new, learn something new, implement something new, it just gets better each time. You know, you have companies that make things and they do a great job, but it's continuity. You know, each piece is great across the board. These things tend to supersede each other in a way, you know. I mean, they're hard. It's hard when somebody says, "Well, what do you like better, Sal or Chewy?" That's a difficult question because you're talking about two complete different things. But it is one of those things where every time they come up with something new, it's just one step above. And we've never really had that before as collectors.
Yeah, someone was mentioning the stone again. Yeah, the stone is a work of art in and of itself.
Well, even the bottom. Look at how much darker the bottom is. How it's got like that.
Like this bottom or the
bottom?
No.
Like just towards where it just has that buildup of natural dirt and grime and calcite and like natural stone would have.
I mean, look at that crack, dude.
Oh, it just
it's crazy, man. This I agree. This thing in and of itself is just like stupid good, and it's got the leather on top where he sits. It is amazing. Like it really is. They did a fantastic job with this thing. And everything's not crazy heavy either. Like, you know, I'm not worried about Sal. You know, it'll be fine. But everything, it feels quality. You know, it's not like super light. It's not like super heavy. It's good. It's a good one.
That's how I felt. It wasn't on the light side, but it's not extremely heavy. I think it has a nice weight to it overall. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. Should I grab a screwdriver real quick? Is that?
Yeah, grab a Phillips and you pop that off and we'll go through getting the legs and the tail on.
So Matt can pretend it's really heavy as he lifts it and it would be believable. You know, honestly, the way it looks is true, but you probably shouldn't take too much stock in that because I lift everything and it's heavy to me. So like, you know, it's not a big deal with my little noodle arms. I lift everything I lift up. I'm like, oh shit.
I pick things up and put them down.
Dude, like those XM statues. I have a hard time moving those
give you
anywhere.
the Jimmy arms. Those make your
Dude,
arms.
those are like,
yeah. And that, like, if anybody's ever carried like groceries up the stairs, you put them down, your arm still feels like you're carrying it. XM statues do that too. You put it down, your arms are still wiggling.
well, that and the actual like the actual sculpted part up top is like you're trying to make sure that doesn't, like you want to hold them with both hands, but it's just so heavy. At least to me it is. To me, it's
you definitely get the Jimmy arms for sure. But yeah, these are a nice weight.
Let me grab hold on one second. Let me grab the screwdriver. I'll be right back.
Grab screwdriver. Yeah. See what's going on in the comments here. So stone block detail. So yeah. So again, yep, it does. It looks really realistic, and I think I don't want to disrespect anybody by getting the names wrong, but I think it was Matt or Pat. I believe his name's Pat, but Tom's talked about him before, but he had sculpted the base specifically, and it's amazing how it looks like a real piece of stone. It's insane, man. It doesn't just like mimic stone. It looks like stone. It's as if you have a piece of stone. Yeah. And Matt, thanks for Matthew for checking that. So they are glass eyes. I appreciate that. I always like to get the information correct, and for some reason my mind likes to default to acrylic, but they are glass eyes. So and that, the glass eyes have a realism to them that they look natural. They look realistic, and the fact that they're set in the head and not just like on or glued on, the combination of the two, the glass and the taxidermy setting, just really brings this thing to life. Hans and Franz. Pick things up and put them down. I think that was like a Planet Fitness commercial or something.
I think it was a SNL skit, wasn't it?
I think it was both, yeah. Hans and Franz. Pick things up and put them down. Yes, this is exciting. And now, this is another thing we'll go over as Matt continues and does the unboxing, but a lot of the questions we've gotten during or even after, some that I've gotten personally, people just messaging like, hey, great to see you guys do the unboxing, but can you tell me this? Can you tell me that? And I'd say the number one question has to be the fact that he doesn't peg into the base. Now, again, even though we said this before, that was by design.
Hold on, Jason. That said, legitimate concern.
It is.
It's a legitimate concern.
Okay, but you'll see as you're unboxing and assembling, you'll see it's going to be a lot easier to explain or discuss again, because it is the number one thing that I've gotten after the fact. Throughout the week, I've gotten a handful of those. And here's the thing. Regal Robot wanted to give you the option to display it on the dais or display it off. And if I'm correct, I think I saw a picture of Gabe's yesterday or the day before where he had it. He has the wall that's sort of dedicated to like Regal Robot pieces. I think it's off the dais. I think he's sitting sort of hanging off the shelf. And you can do that, and you can do it in a way where you can place it and feel comfortable that he's not going to fall off. I mean, you have to give this guy a good knock or a good shake. Walking by or a quick little tap isn't going to do it. Yep. Let's pop this up on the screen, take a peek, flip it over and show like that, sort of gnarly kind of curl. And you can see like the wrinkles and the knuckles and even under the fingernails. You see the indentation underneath the fingernails, Matt? Like on the bottom? Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah, you can see it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's freaking crazy, dude.
So what I would recommend, that's his arm. Let's put the feet on first, and then the arms after the feet and tail.
Okay. This is an arm, you said?
That's an arm. So if you look at
feet on first. Okay.
If you look at the part that keys in real quick, Matt, before you put it down.
Yeah.
So it's not just a piece of, I want to say resin or whatever the material is made out of. It actually has metal in it. So the arm has metal in it, and that piece coming out that keys into Salacious has metal in it. So anybody, because you do have to apply a little bit of pressure when you're inserting it, and you can do so comfortably without worrying about breaking it.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's important.
What a strange creature. Yeah.
It is. And
It is a strange
you're
creature.
talking about it. I was just thinking, Matt's girls love Chewbacca and get a kick out of him, but I can only imagine them walking in and, oh my God, Daddy.
I've shown them some pictures of this thing before.
You're prepping them?
Yeah, just to get them prepped. This is a really weird one.
You tell them not to feed them, and
well, it's to me this is a really just strange one to have in a collection. If you don't, I don't know. On its own, it's a very unique piece.
It is, yeah, it is. But there's no denying that he's meant to be a little. He's a creature. He's meant to be a little creature.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. I love it.
Matt Serio asks, are the limbs posable? So Matthew, no, they're not. However, I don't think the sideshow ones are posable either. But however, they are situated in such a way where they rest very naturally. They have a very natural look to them,
right?
But you cannot pose them.
Yeah, and some people really wanted this thing to be an actual puppet, like a puppet. Yeah. And I totally get that. I understand why some people would want that. The problem is for longevity. I don't think any of us should want that for longevity in terms of wanting our collectible that we're spending money on to last a long time. But that being said, I don't know, coming into like new technology, new materials. I don't know. Maybe there is some sort of material that you could make a puppet last for a very, very, very long time. I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that this, making this thing look like a puppet, but actually not be a puppet and make it last a long time is probably the best way to do it right now.
Now you don't have to have the concerns of, do you have a humid climate, a dry climate?
Right.
Is it exposed to a number of UV rays, things that are going to damage it? And that's the problem with making a replica of a puppet. That's where it comes into question. I mean, even things like J&D Studios, right? They use what they call the medical grade silicone skin, but they straight up tell you, and they're very honest about it, this has a shelf life of approximately 30 years. So approximately 30 years means it could last 40 years and look impeccable. It can last 15 years and look impeccable, and then start to degrade and break down. This thing, unless you actually do something to it or damage it, by human error or to your own fault, is going to just withstand the test of time.
Man, they really, even just like this, they pack the hell out of this thing. It's pretty amazing. Keep rolling over all the bubble. Here's the other.
Another shot of the other arm. Yep.
Let me go to there we go.
Yeah, give it a turn so we can kind of see like that. So you can see like how gnarled and curled and whatnot the hands are, and the fingernails almost have this like slight bit of sheen to them to give them that natural sort of like nail. It's just weird. They have a slight little coating and grime, but I mean, it looks like if this guy scratches you, you need a tetanus shot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's got hepatitis all over those nails. Like it's disgusting. And it's just, I mean, it even shows you like even all these like wrinkles, like it's so like you want to say, oh, that's like the wrinkles he would have for a creature, but it's actually kind of, if it looks a lot like the wrinkles you would have if you were a puppet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's what it looks like. It looks like material wrinkles almost,
That's a good catch, Matt. You're correct. And I think that's what I think both me and Chris noticed that right away, that it has a real lifelike puppet effect to it and the way it was sculpted. And of course that was by design, but
it's just almost as big, just about my size of arm.
Those biceps.
Little smaller.
Woo.
And sorry, guys, I didn't want to. I personally am not I don't like unboxing things and not unboxing them personally. So, you're getting the actual like experience of me unboxing it, but it's kind of annoying as well. So I apologize for that, but I didn't want to open it ahead of time. Let's see. I found it funny. Steve said he would never have a bib Fortuna in his house because he was too horrific, but he now has no problem with afterbirth huts and cannibal crocus.
I know, right? Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Steve's got his things he likes and exceptions, I guess. We all have our things. Yeah, see, I've mentioned this to Jason a couple times. I've never been one to say, "Oh, I need a Salacious Chrome in my collection." Right, Jay? Like I've never said that. Never said
you're right. Yeah.
And that's the problem with Regal Robot. That's the issue I have with Regal Robot is that the stuff they make is so quality and so good looking that it doesn't matter. Like the minute I see a freaking Salacious Chrome, I'm like, yeah, I have to have that. It's really ridiculous.
And that's a discussion we've had many times on camera and off. And it's easy when you have a company who's producing, I don't know, let's say statues or even 1/6 scale or, costumes or prop replicas, whatever it may be. You can say, look, I love Poe Dameron, but do I need to spend $700 on a Poe Dameron helmet? No, I don't. Okay. That's easy. That's an easy pass, especially in a world where us collectors get so, such a how do you want to say it? Like a visceral reaction to seeing things, a response to things like, I need that. I have to have that. But there are times you can say that looks great, but I don't need it. The problem with what Regal Robot is doing is, yeah, you can say, well, I don't really connect with that character. But when you see the thing, it's just so hard to pass up because it's so amazing, so beautiful. And again, they're not making 1,000 of these or 5,000 of these or even 500 of them. It's such a low number that if you miss out, it's one of those things that it's done. Because people that are buying these, you also have to take cost into consideration. People that are buying these are buying them to keep them.
Sure.
You
would think so. Yeah, you would think so.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, these are usually things that,
There's so much bubble wrap.
Yeah, it's all right.
I really appreciate Regal and Tom and those guys packing these things up so well.
Hey, Greg, what's up?
So here's the leg. Here's the other leg. I don't know.
I love the way this, if you flip it up to put the way the toe kind of curls over the other one. To the,
yeah.
When you kind of crack your knuckles too much and you're an old guy and your fingers go in the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, it gives you an idea of the bottom of the foot even looks all messed up. And
Matt, put your hand up to the foot. I mean, give people an idea of the size. He's not small by any means.
No, it's a decent size, yeah. And then it's got the locking
wing nut,
lug nut, the wing nut at the end. Pretty sick. Should I open the other one first and then put them both together?
Open up the other leg and then we'll start the assembly and go from there.
Yeah, and if you guys have any other questions, let us know. I'll try to, once we get him together, I'll try to get more light on him because he's kind of sitting here in the dark. But and again, maybe towards the end I'll show you the dais again, the piece at the bottom. It's freaking amazing.
And as Matt's doing this, I'll point out, even though the lighting here isn't very bright on his side, so when we started seeing some of the promo pics, when the emails went out, and the details went out. A lot of people were concerned that the base was very close in color to Salacious, that there wasn't a lot of contrast between the two. But as you can see here, and as I can tell you from experience by having the piece on display, the base is one color and Salacious is completely a whole other color.
Really,
and I think they may not have. Yeah, I think for photography purposes, they had a white background. It was a little bit washed out, which it happens a lot. We see that from time to time. But some people are like, oh, he's kind of light. I don't remember being that color, but no, the actual piece is spot on. The color, the texture, the details, the spots, the lines. It's all there, and it contrasts, magnificent.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because even having him in the darker area here actually benefits for you to see the actual
Yeah, you can see that as well. And I really like the approach they took this time around with the builds. I know there's always concern with having to attach pieces about seams and how visible they are, and are they going to be an eyesore? But these can quite well, and once they're in, you don't see a lot of seams, and those that you do were intentionally done in a way where it mimics the puppet because the puppet was made that way. So you sort of get the best of both worlds there.
Okay, I'm getting closer. Here's the other leg.
Nice.
Give you an idea of this guy.
So
and
how's the packaging?
Let's go over that again. So guys, just we mentioned this a couple times. We knew we'd have to mention it quite a bit. So the packaging, as I have received it, is packaging that we decided as people that commissioned the thing, as individually what we wanted. Like Tom asked us if we wanted the actual packaging as it would be as a final piece, or if we'd want the packaging to be just something that gets it to us safely and gets it to us a little quicker. And we decided to go with at least everyone individually decided what they wanted. I think pretty much everyone decided to go faster than wait. But the real run is going to have die cut like foam and all this other stuff. It's so, and the nice thing too, is if anything does get, anything does get messed up at all, if it toe breaks or toenail or whatever, you don't have to be like, hey, Tom, I need a new Salacious. He can send you a leg and you can just pin it, put it in and you're good to go. So it worked out pretty well. And Matthew's asking, how do they ship? FedEx, UPS? They ship FedEx, but keep in mind that so they'll have, which I'm not a big fan of FedEx, to be honest, completely honest, but they'll have the actual die cut stuff. The boxes that they use this on the Rancor too. The boxes are like ridiculously, they're just so well made and so like thick and stiff. I mean, there wasn't even a dent on this box, on any of these boxes. Like they came very, very nice. And just so you guys know, I was on vacation, so they tried to deliver this thing like 2 times until I had them deliver it to a FedEx near like a ship station or whatever near me. And so I was a little bit concerned that I was having it continuously get put into a truck and off a truck and back onto a truck and all this other stuff. I was a little bit concerned, but it's freaking great. I mean, that would have been my fault anyway, but it came out, I mean, for the most part, it came out great from what I can tell. So
see, it's interesting that you prefer UPS, because for me, UPS, I have to go on a wild goose chase with them. If I'm home, they'll say I'm not home, and I mean that's a story for another time. But I prefer FedEx. DHL is obviously one of the best services of carriers, but within domestic shipping, there's no need for it. But I do pretty well with FedEx. Anything shipped by FedEx, I usually have a better chance. UPS and USPS on my end tend to be a problem with outgoing and incoming.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. See, UPS is. I actually know the UPS lady a little bit, and she's a nice lady, and I try to help her like carry heavy things when I order stupid shit, and she's just nice, so I prefer that. But FedEx, I mean, it's fine. It gets to me. It gets to me fine. It's just I don't know.
Yeah. And just a quick mention, Matt, we were talking about this earlier. So when you're waiting on your delivery, so with the FedEx and with these pieces specifically, because of the value, because of, the way they're done, if you're not home, it's not one of those things where you can just sign the door tag, stick it on the
No,
door, and let the driver pull it and be like, oh, okay, well, somebody signed for it. I'm just going to leave the box unattended. It
right,
needs a direct signature, and
right.
that's important to note because there's various reasons for that, but it's just important to note that there needs to be a direct signature, and I think that protects everybody involved. And I wish more companies would actually do that.
Well, I think
Cypress,
Tom. I think Tom was a little bit frustrated because due to COVID, FedEx and UPS and I think
oh,
a
they
bunch of
kind of
these,
just did like a
yeah, they would just drop it off and be like, I don't want to get COVID. Here, take it. Like they don't want
yeah,
to,
like it's
And
yeah.
so now
And that
it's
was understandable considering the circumstances. But
Mhm.
when that was happening, and funny you brought that up, I had some issues with Sideshow where UPS would just leave packages unattended or just roll them off the truck and drive away. And I'm like, well, where is this thing? Because I was expecting that, you have to sign for it. But yeah, now it's one of those things where I don't think they're getting away with that too much more.
interesting. That's so interesting.
Yeah, isn't it? So very well thought out here, very well engineered.
It's hard to see, but you guys can see the inside a little
Hmm.
bit here. Let me see if I can show you the other side here. But yeah, really, really cool looking.
So both legs and the tail key in with a wing nut,
He's
and
got a
then
fire
the
breathing fan.
arms.
Look at this. Look at this. See? Kind of a puppet.
Yeah, there you
Really stick
go.
my arm up his ass. It's crazy. Um. Okay, so basically the idea is it's a little bit hard to do. So is this side?
Yep. And you'll notice too, once you start getting him assembled, Matt, he doesn't have to sit flat on the dice. One of the things I did was I turned the dice at an angle, and his feet still rest. It goes over the side, the way the toes are,
Mhm.
and then the other one, the heel rests right against it. So you can turn it. You don't have to have like Jabba's tattoo showing. You can move it to. I mean, you can basically have him sitting anywhere you want on the dais at an angle, one side, back side, or you can take him off completely. And this is important. This is what we were talking about earlier. One of the biggest concerns is him not keying into the slab. You'll see once the arms and legs are on what I mean about that, why it shouldn't be as much of a concern as people are curious about.
Okay.
Yeah, and Greg says he figured as much that the commission packaging would be a little bit different. And the reason why we kind of drove that home a little bit, Greg, is when we initially did the Rancor unboxings, it was sort of similar where Matt had just kind of got some of the pieces ready to go because it was a larger box, a lot going on, and when you're doing unboxing, there's a lot of crackling and crinkling and all that going on when you're trying to unwrap pieces. And somebody had taken a screenshot of just the paper filler. And these rumors started that the Rancor was just wrapped with bubble wrap and basically, packing paper, which totally wasn't the case because that had custom inserts and a way to rest him and sit him in as well. But it's just good to emphasize that, if you are going to spend this amount of money and purchase something that is very dear to you and something that you're looking for your collection that you may consider a grill, you want to make sure that our eyes are all protected, and we can assure that it will.
And guys, just so you know, it's so hard to unbox on camera. Like for me to unbox this and like sit here in this chair and do this whole thing, it's so annoying. Like I've unboxed all kinds of stuff off of camera, and it's so much better to freaking do it off camera because you can put it wherever you want. You can take your time. This is so freaking annoying. So just bear with us a little bit here because it takes.
Yeah, you don't have to be when you're off camera. You don't have to be conscientious of how it's like. Right now, you got Salacious sitting on your lap. Like, if you weren't on camera, you'd be on the floor screwing the feet
Right,
in, and
exactly.
now he's bent over. His legs are up in the air. He's being
I'm taking advantage of him.
Yeah, yeah. But it's what it is, and I think it's good. And the more people see this, the more people see, because the time's going to come where people start to place their order, and as they start to arrive in 6 months or 9 months, whatever the time schedule ends up being, I think we're looking at late spring, early summer of next year.
Right.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, guys. But you'll find more details if you go to regalrobot.com and you visit the Salacious page. It'll give you the full gamut of details there. But yeah, it's just the assembly process. It's always good to get an idea of what you're getting into before you receive the piece.
Do I need to? I can close them up, right? Once the feet are on, once the legs are on.
No, you want to put the tail on as well.
Okay.
So once the feet and the tail are on, then you can close them up. And you notice how you don't really have to like take those wing nuts and really tighten them to the point where like you can't twist them no more.
Yeah.
Just get it right to the point where it starts to stop, and that's good enough. You don't have to like.
I twisted them pretty hard.
Oh, okay, I mean you can, but I'm just saying.
There's a washer on there too, so.
Yeah, but now that I know he's not fully assembled yet, but are you getting an idea of what I mean of how well he places on the slab?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it takes a little bit of. It's gonna take a little bit to try to get him off that.
It'll take a good earthquake to get him off, but I'm sure that'll happen. So.
But the concerns of walking by or knocking into him, it's going to be really hard to knock him off.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're like.
Look, I think it would make me. I'm not gonna lie. It would make me feel better if he was keyed in. But that said, I don't think it's a must for this piece to be keyed in. I think he sits very well, and he's very well secured on. Like he feels very secure on the dice piece.
Yeah.
I think you should still be careful where you put him.
Yeah, of course.
Like you don't want him. I don't think you want him freely just sitting anywhere, because if someone bumps him, something could happen. But that could happen to anything.
It's hard to say that it can't. Yeah, you're right. But I just think so many of the concerns were, oh, he's just sitting, and if he's light or if he's this or he's that, he's going to fall right off and smash it to 1,000 pieces.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think that those concerns can be alleviated knowing that he's getting a decent amount of weight to him, and he's designed in such a way where he places well.
One second.
All right, so I'm just going to scroll through the comments, see if you have any additional questions. I know this is kind of impromptu and sort of last minute, but yeah, so all right, so just basic, saying, so yeah, guys, it's it's a great piece, and it's one of those things where I know that they decided to up the edition, so people don't have to miss out, or less people potentially miss out, where the Rancor had sold out so quickly. The chess set even faster. I think the chess set was 37 minutes. I mean, it was under an hour, and that's amazing. That was 77 pieces. So this was brought up to 150 for two reasons. I mean, you get a character that is not as, I guess, I don't want to say arbitrary. So that the chess set is an arbitrary set. It's definitely unique in its own right, but Salacious has a very specific, element. And it's just one of those things where more people are going to have the option to purchase. And with that being said, I think it's a great idea and a great opportunity. So
sorry, family got home.
No, that's all right. So I was just kind of talking about the numbers and the fact that this has increased to an addition of 150. I think that it being Salacious and it being such an amazing piece, it gives the opportunity for less people to potentially miss out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's nice. Look, we can't expect that Regal Robot is gonna stay in the whole 50 to 60 to 70 the whole time, all the time. I think it's going to be dependent on the piece and how popular they might think the piece is, or I mean, they're getting more and more popular, I think, is what's going on. So getting close, guys, getting close. Oh, there's the tail. Here's the tail.
Yeah, the tail has a little bit of a foam protector in the initial shipments.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so much of this freaking shit. Which is awesome, but also really hard to get out. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay. Here's the tail. I don't think we have to go close on this thing. You can see the variations though, which is kind of cool.
And the tail is designed in such a way where if you wanted to pose this close to a wall, because the sideshow one, I think, again, talking about the differences, and not to keep referencing that, but it's it's the only other Salacious out there. That tail really comes out far from the backside and then wraps over. They did this in such a way where it sort of rests right by his upper neck and below the back of his head, if you will. And it does so in such a way where if you wanted to place them close to a wall, you could do so without necessarily having to, pull them too far out or even remove the tail, which is what some people have done with the sideshow one, to be able to display him in a specific way. So after Matt assembles this part, you'll see how well it sort of does a loop-de-loop, a little curl, and rests around the back of his neck.
Yeah, it gets a lot heavier as you put the legs and stuff on him too.
It does, yeah. It definitely does.
Sorry, I'll go. Here we go. Let's see. All right, we're getting there, guys. I'm glad I didn't open this earlier because I like seeing these things. I like the initial reactions of things, but damn, it's a lot. Okay, let me see here. So how did you put this thing on here? Like, how do you sit him?
Okay, so you mean like because you're
yeah, like how am I supposed to like?
So I rested mine. I don't know how you're positioned in your chair. So I rested mine where his head was like his head and his back, like as if he was laying backward, were on my lap, on my knee.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. And I left enough room for the bottom to be open to insert the tail. Once I got the tail inserted, I lifted him up from the back of his head to rest the tail in its position. So just be patient and just take your time on this particular one. But once you get it keyed in, you'll see what I mean. So for those watching now or in the future, what's initially recommended is to do the right leg, left leg, tail, place them on the dais, and then do both arms. And it's important to do the legs first, because he also has that bottom that Matt showed where you see the Lucasfilm / Regal robot. That will sail it off. And the arms just key in. They don't actually need to be bolted in. So how you feeling? Are you feeling comfortable with that? You see what I mean?
Yeah, it's okay. Okay.
And pretty easy. I mean, with the exception of having to move them around a little bit, which most people aren't going to be unboxing on camera. The assembly is pretty straightforward and fairly simple.
Yeah, the only thing I don't know is if I have the tail seated like it's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Let me see. The top part should wrap and almost look like it's resting on his top of the back or below the head.
Yeah, it looks right.
Just if you can, just lift them slightly so I can see on the camera. Yeah, that is correct. That's proper. Yep. So it comes out enough to give the natural tail look, but not too much where you're stuck placing him a foot away from the wall.
Yep, and then you put this thing back on the
Yep,
hole.
you put that back on, get him sealed up, and then you can do the arms after.
There we go.
So I think it was very well executed.
I think so too.
Yeah, I was not only impressed but very happy with how well it was done, but how simple it was to assemble and get on display.
Definitely don't want to strip these screws.
No, and I can't picture, unless you're trying to hide something in there. I can't picture a need to open and close it more than once.
Be a great place to hide something, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you can put your stash in there, right?
Be great. Okay.
Oh, imagine. So Matthew says they should have had an optional speaker to put in for the cackle. That would have
been cool. That would have been cool. And that's
cool.
not to. That's not. There's not to say that you couldn't figure that out yourself if you wanted to. If you wanted,
you could actually add that inside. Yeah,
you could probably do it. It's not a bad idea. It's just, you know. Let me see here. I'll make sure I have this in here right before I go. Let's see. All right, so this gives you an idea of what he looks like with the legs and everything inserted.
Yeah, you put it. Yeah, you could. So now, when you place him, now that his tail and legs are on, you'll see how well the top foot and the bottom heel rests against the slab. You see what I mean, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
So the feet actually, in a way, even though it's designed aesthetically this way, also allow for him to rest and help keep him in place. So it's not just him having the flat bottom or the weight of the piece holding him in place, but the way the feet are positioned, they almost, I don't want to say hold on to, but they press against the slab in a way where it holds it comfortably in place. It's radical, huh, man? It's amazing.
He's such a crazy looking freaking dude, man.
It's amazing.
See if I can get more light on him. Gives you a little bit better of an idea here.
So yeah, you can see the tail doesn't come too far out on this one, which allows for better display options.
Yeah, and I'll say that the only thing I'll say is that it's going to depend. I guess it's going to depend on everyone's different pieces they get. If the tail fits in perfectly and rests, doesn't give you as much of a seam or not a seam. Mine has a little bit of a seam, a little bit of a gap there, but for the most part, I mean, the legs fit really nicely. Yeah, it's really nice, dude.
You can really capture. I mean, Chris's light was fantastic during the unboxing, but this really allows you to see the contrast between the base and Salacious himself, because he is more of an orange tone. Technically, the brown and orange undertones. He's not as light as Adias is, but yeah, and you can see the way you have it now, Matt. If you just want to blow yourself up for a second.
Sure. 1 second.
From this angle, you can see how well the heel or the palm of the foot rests up against the slab. Yeah. just to give people an idea. So even if you were to turn him, Matt, so if you turned him at an angle, for example, like if you turn Salacious, all right, keep the dais like that, pointed towards the camera.
Yeah.
Now turn Salacious to be hanging over the corner of it. He holds on just as well with the 2 feet. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Just as well. It doesn't. So if you want to, you know, play around with it a little bit, move it around, the feet, it's not going to throw it off if you want to pose them differently. So this also plays into if you put them on a shelf or a regular display pedestal and you take the dais away. You know, the feet are designed very well to hold him in place.
Yeah, he does sit very well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still blown away by the concrete.
Oh, how realistic it is. Yeah.
Like Salacious is unbelievable, obviously, but the concrete's like it's crazy to me how good it looks. It really is amazing. Put this up a little bit more. But yeah, he looks really good. Let's get his arms in here.
Yeah, let's. I want to. Let's see. So if you go right where the key is, just feel for the little lip of hair. You can feel for it. You can pull it up, give it a nice little tug. The rest of the hair is placed well. And then it's going to take a little force, not too much, but a little. And it's in a downward.
Yeah, I feel it.
The main thing here is you don't want to pinch the hair. You don't want to get it caught under the arm seam. So you might just want to take a few seconds with that. So even though you have to take a little bit of time with this, I don't want to say time, but just it's not as quick as throwing the leg in and securing it. But once you do, the arms are well hidden. You barely see anything, if at all.
Well, and one thing I would suggest doing now that I just did it is to lift it up, put it in a little bit, lift it up over, put it in a little further, lift it up over some more. You know what I mean? Just kind of work it a little bit.
So you avoid catching some of the hair underneath the seam. But you see how well it rests and the hair just covers it completely. Yeah. Yeah, another creature you gotta work the hair with. I spent a total of about an hour, not in one sitting, but between unboxing him and putting him on display, you know, sort of tousling his hair around to just give him that, you know, sort of grungy kind of sitting around, bedhead matted kind of look.
Yeah, and he's the same as Chewbacca. I don't, you know, it depends on if people have any of the other Regal robot pieces, but the Chewie hair comes off of Chewie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just a net, you know, it's gonna happen. He's got so much freaking hair. So this is the same type of thing as some hair, like as you like work it and kind of get it to where
you have a few
strands.
strands.
There'll be some strands that come out.
As long as your wife wasn't like, did you have a redhead in the house?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then you can be like, well.
Well. So I liked this was really, really well thought out, because it could have just easily been when you lift that lip of hair to insert the arm that the rest of the hair pulls up easily. But it was done in a way where you have to give it a nice tug just even to get the lip of hair up. Yeah, so once you do the first arm, you really get it for the second arm.
Yeah, but it takes a minute. It takes a bit to do it though.
Yeah, you get I mean, they're in there. It's a tight fit. But again, by design, and the reason why they're a tight fit is the more secure is not necessarily for the integrity of the piece. It is, but it's also to alleviate any potential seams that you might see.
Crazy.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really is. It's crazy, dude. Oh my gosh.
And then when you put the airs in, he just completely comes to life. Like he's 90% assembled, but he's just quite not there. Once you put the airs in, he just comes to life.
Wow.
So how you feeling about it so far?
That's amazing.
Yeah, there you go. It's one of those things where I was just staring at it and just awe.
They did a great job.
It just makes you think though, right? Like every piece they come out with, it's like, well, how do you top this? And then they top it. It's insane.
I don't know. They did a freaking great job though. Let me get the ears.
Yeah. So we had a question last week and I kind of joked, but I was somewhat serious. I mean, I was being playful, but I was also serious. And one of the things was, fast forward 5 years from now, right, Matt? Think about all the things that will be released by Regal Robot in the next 5 years. My intent is to potentially get enough of these pieces mixed in with some studio scale models and what have you, and recreate that famous picture of Lucas standing there with all the
right.
That would just be a great
That would be crazy.
a great display. I mean, but we're sort of heading in that direction with the type of pieces we're receiving.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get it. My lighting is freaking bright as hell right now because I look like a freaking ghost. But here, so it gives you an idea of the ear. Turn this down a little bit. So you got a little hair coming off of the ear there.
And it's subtle. The hair around the neck is heavier than I mean, it's accurate, but heavier than what you would see on the sideshow. But the hair in the ear is a little bit, it's not as heavy, but just naturally falls well. So on the cheeks, Matt, when you're getting him ready for like where you're gonna place him and put him on display, rather than kind of having it fall straight down, I noticed you can kind of bunch it up and kind of have it coming out sort of like same direction of the cheeks, and then the same thing around the neck. Just toss it a little bit, and yeah, that looks fantastic. It looks like a slice of pizza.
It's so funny.
And those things, man, I gotta tip my hat because when those key in, like I said, you'll see, it just eliminates the keyhole.
That's so sick.
And I think this was one thing that was reworked. I think originally these were connected to the head. They weren't a separate piece. And they did sort of a beta test run to see, well, what if we were to ship it with the airs, considering all the other pieces are removable, what would happen? And just to play it safe, they went the route of removing the airs and making them a separate piece that you can. But again, once you key them in, you don't even see it. Correct? Am I correct on that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, yes, they key in very well.
It almost completely eliminates the hole or the keyhole in the head. Oh man, there you go.
He's
wow.
crazy looking, dude.
Wow. Look at him from that side. Anybody watching, if you look at him from the side, and Chris had mentioned this, Chris had said he really liked this angle, and I can see why, because he's got that sort of hunched, not relaxed, sort of a relaxed, but that sort of hunched, scrunched, leaning forward look, and you see the elements of the spine and the rolls and the curls of his belly, and man, there's just so much detail from all angles of this piece. It was so meticulously thought through in the process.
Yeah, and you got to make sure. Like I had a pretty big gap on one of the ears,
Mm-hmm.
and so you really have to make sure you get it like sitting right.
Yeah, it keys down more of an angle, but once it gets in there, um, yeah, you don't see much. Wow.
He's crazy looking, dude.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Aren't you glad you didn't pass on this?
Very,
Yeah.
very end. Just so everyone knows, yeah, I jumped in the commission at towards the very end. So it was. I mean, it's fantastic.
This time I got you to spend your money.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
usually spending my money. I'm like, you have
Yeah.
to get this
Well,
thing.
I wanted to get this thing, but it was around the time
Yeah, it
of
was
the
the same time as a Rancor, yeah.
yeah, I couldn't do it. So
But I'm like, you gotta see it, you need it, you have to have it.
it's good, man. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah. Look at those eyes. Looks like he's gonna bite you.
I mean, you can really, really see the variations.
Yeah, that right there is fantastic lighting because even I couldn't. I just was nowhere near that when I was doing my unboxing. It was really hard to capture because I just had generic, house lighting, which sort of drowned out a lot of the detail. And even again, going back to the slab, I mean, I know it's not the main event, but even the color variation there, the gradient of color and filth and grime built up on the slab is just, it's something that you could easily just, all right, make the slab, it is what it is, but they put just as much time, effort, energy, and detail into the slab as they do Salacious.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the great thing about what they do.
Wow.
So Matt, how do you feel about Jabba's tattoo as like a little added bonus on the dais?
I like it.
I dig it too, yeah.
I
like
at first I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I like it. I think it looks nice. It adds something to it. Now, for me, I feel like I have to display it this way, so I wouldn't want to kind of put it any other way.
Yeah.
It adds a reason to kind of display it that way, but otherwise, I mean, geez, look at this thing. This thing's freaking ridiculous.
Now, even if you give him a little shake, you'll see what I mean by how well he's rested on there.
Well, you wouldn't be able to tell because this thing. The problem is the thing I have it on isn't very sturdy, but he's not. He's not going anywhere.
He's not going. So now you see what I mean now. Like even though he's not pegged in, he's not going anywhere. Yeah, he's on there to stay unless, like I said, you're intentionally like booting this thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, the problem is if I have a decent sized earthquake, it is what it is. If I have a decent sized earthquake, all this shit's gonna go down.
Everything's going down.
Yeah, everything's gone. But yeah, he might hop off of this thing, but you know what? Until then, he's gonna stay there. It's really solid on there. Yeah, it really is beautiful. And it's cool because like if you have some airflow in your room or things blowing around at all, like you get the hair blows a little bit, like the ear hair blows a little bit.
Just like you would see on an actual animal or creature or a pet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. He's just wacky looking, dude.
I know.
I love that all the people that made like creatures were like on acid and shit and just made.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we wouldn't have this if it weren't for drugs and artistic endeavor.
Exactly. So cool.
But it also now it's the reverse. It's like now that you have this in your collection on display, the last thing you want to do is drugs and look at that thing.
Oh yeah, no way. You kidding me?
Then you'd be having a bad trip.
You'd be freaking gone, dude.
Be bugging out, yeah.
Wow. Truly, wow. Like,
Right. It catches you by surprise for a moment when you're taking it in. And it's going to take a couple days for you to sit with it, have it on display. I remember after doing the unboxing, I would, yeah, I still do it to this day with Chewy. You know, it's something I go back to. I look at him, I smile, I check him out. I, tussle his hair on a little bit, kind of change him up. I don't know. You just find yourself revisiting the pieces, looking at it, smiling, and I come in after being at work for 3-4 days. Like, for example, tonight, I was supposed to be home yesterday, but worked an extra day, didn't come in until late this evening, and come in. The first thing I do is I throw my bag down, take a peek, see Salacious, just puts a smile on my face, and it just always catches you, and you're just like, wow, look at that thing. Like that's just like, I can't think of any other, unless you have a piece that has like sentimental value or nostalgic value of like the utmost degree. I can't think of any other pieces in our collection that really catch you off guard and make you stop, in your tracks when you look at it. And these pieces all seem to do it.
oh yeah, it's freaking crazy, man. Yeah, Chewy does the same. Like Chewy, when you see Chewy, like obviously he's like really dark back there, but he looks freaking amazing when you look at him up close. This guy's the same way. They did such a fantastic job. Congratulations to Tom and Regal Robot and all the team there for pulling off another amazing piece. Truly amazing.
It's phenomenal what they can do. I mean, it's magic. It's magic.
Yeah.
And to Tony, Tony for sculpting this. He put a lot of heart and soul into getting this right and really getting the elements of the look of the puppet and sort of the details or wrinkles of how a puppet would sit and rest if it weren't, in a statue form. And to emulate that across mediums, right? To emulate one medium into another, I think is a challenge in and of itself. And yeah, I mean, he nailed it.
He did. He really did. And to all the, thanks to their team. Thanks to everyone that commissioned the piece. Obviously none of us could have done it without everyone jumping on. And then on top of that, now that Tom's turned it into like a run that everyone can jump on, like it's awesome. Like everyone has a chance to own, freaking Salacious Crumb in their collection, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing that I like the idea that commissions get turned into edition runs. Because he does give that opportunity and does offer. I mean, they do a lot of one-offs. Don't get me wrong. Not a lot, but they do one-offs.
They do. And
commissions made to orders, what have you. But it's great that people can commission something, and that people who commission pieces, because like I said, there's been a few where they're open enough to say, hey, as much as I love this piece, as much as I wanted it, yes, you want to make it 2-edition piece to let other people enjoy this? Fantastic, go for it. And that's the great thing, that the community and the maker come together to make that happen.
Right.
So Greg asks, this is a good question, how's it dust with Chewy? Thinking about getting a module case for this and Chewy. So I'll answer real quickly first, Matt. So the dust with Chewy, Greg, I think is minimal, but I also clean mine, I'd say bi-weekly. I use the air,
the computer air duster thing.
Basically, yeah, the computer air blast dust. But what I do is I hold it, I'd say about 8 to 10 inches back, because you don't want to blast it because the hair will it'll like part. So I do it enough where it's not going to like put the hair all out of place, but enough to get, the dust off them. But I do it frequently enough, like I said, about twice a month, where it doesn't really have enough time for dust to settle. But one thing I do personally, and I don't know how many other people do this, I use actually an air cleaner, an air purifier, and it's a pretty heavy duty one. Yeah, we get the Rowentas and the Mala Q8s. I mean, these are $1,000 systems, but it just, I'm not kidding you when I say it eliminates like 99% of dust particles. You barely have it, but I do still do a bi-monthly cleaning. initially when I got my Chewy, I did want to encase him by not only putting him on a pedestal, but putting acrylic over him. But he's massive. He's massive.
Well,
And
and Jason, it also depends on how many people are in your space.
yes,
How often you're in your space, how often you're in your collection room. Like, this is my office. And so, my computer's right here. This is where I work. And so for me, I'm in here all the time. I'm in here and out of here, all that stuff, dogs and stuff. So I do still build up. I still get dust. I have a air purifier, but I still get dust. And so it's, it's just part of life. You just, with collection, you just dust it. The thing that's awesome about Salacious is that he's the material he's made out of is going to last you. Like, you just dust it. Like, it's not a big deal. You may blow out the hair a little bit. With Chewy, like you blow the hair a little bit with like some computer duster or whatever. It's fine. Like, I haven't really had that many problems with it. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, maybe if you left him out somewhere, there's some bugs could get in there. I don't know. I don't know with Chewy. I have no idea.
I think environment is a big factor.
Sure.
You're right. And it depends on how many people are around, how many people are in your home. But with Salacious, I'm strongly considering encasing him. I don't know lately. So that was my go-to thing for a while, was using the pedestal displays, specifically with the helmets, or some studio scale models, was the pedestal acrylic cover. And I love the way it looks, right? Did it with my Vader, did it with a couple other helmets. But when I got Chewy, it wasn't just his size. It was something about the detail and the way he looked. I didn't want to detract from that.
Right.
Not that the acrylic would. I mean, it's see-through, but there was something about the element of Chewy where I decided to go against it. And now I'm sort of on the fence with Salacious because, again, there's something about it where, as much as you want to give it that museum display and you want to protect it and encase it, I don't know, man. They just, when people visit or you want to check it,
they look so good out of. Like,
it does. It's just something about it not being, just being out in the open.
Yeah.
It just gives it a little bit of added extra light.
That being said, Greg, though, look, my Chewy is sitting in darkness. When I put the Salacious up there, he's going to be sitting in darkness. Like, the nice thing about Moji cases is they're lit. Like, they're made to like put something inside and it's lit and it looks great. Yeah. And so it'll look great in a Moji case. It'll look fantastic. I mean, and it'll be lit really well and you'll be able to see it perfectly all the time. And, you don't have to deal with shit like this where you're like, well, how do I light these things up? Like, I mean, a smarter, more capable person would already have this lit. Yeah. Chris would already have lit this thing because he's an electrician. He'd have killed it already with this. It's going to take me another probably year to get this thing lit up just because I don't know anything about it. I probably need to call somebody to do it or something. I got to figure something out. And so I'm just I can do technology. I anything else, like I'm freaking dumbass with it. So, Aaron says there's definitely bugs in there, Matt, with my Chewy. Yeah, it's possible. Some crabs, some Chewy crabs.
Skull lice.
Aaron's also saying, I think Salacious would look great on a fireplace if you got a big fireplace. Yeah, that's what's cool about this thing is that it can sit anywhere.
He's versatile. Yeah, you can place him anywhere, and the fact that they thought that through ahead of time was great. And even the dais is an extra piece. A lot of people, I don't need it, or what if I go without it? I mean, it's just a great companion to the piece itself. It's one of those things where a lot of people who aren't necessarily familiar or diehard Star Wars fans may look at that and be like, oh, well, what he's familiar, what's he from again, or what is, I don't know what that is, but the piece of slab just gives it more of that Star Wars feel and that Star Wars aesthetic. I think it goes hand in hand quite well. I think it was a good pairing.
I still have to find the plaque.
Oh, go ahead. Check that out.
I just don't know where to look. I don't know if I missed it somewhere and I'm, it's in the pile or if it's in
It should
a box?
be so Matt, it should be in like clear instead of the colored bubble wrap. It should be in the clear plastic with like the white foam around it. It
Yeah.
should be easily noticeable, and it's in a smaller piece. But yeah, see if you can pop the plaque out because the
Okay,
plaque is.
give me 1 second. Let me look for it.
Yeah. Do you think? Yeah, Aaron, you could do that. You know, with how big Chewy is, I think that would definitely scare away any would-be thieves. Somebody walking into the house not necessarily knowing what it is, a shadow in the back of a 7-foot stature. I think something that large would give anybody second thought. Yeah, I still can't get over how big Chewy is. I mean, he's just broad and tall, and even though you're only looking at a bust from basically the breastplate or décolleté upward, he's massive. He's massive. But what a phenomenal piece. Yeah, with the Wookiee yell, exactly. Yeah, no, some of these pieces with sound effects in them would be pretty cool. Having something that would sort of go off if you, hey, Alex, I don't want to say her full name, but turn on the collection and have some of the sounds going off. That would be fantastic. I get a piece coming in from Regal Robot that I think at one point there was an option to have sound added. I think I opted out of it, but it would have been kind of cool to have something like that.
Found it.
Man, if you remember when we were talking about the chess set specifically, I don't know why. I thinking back now, I'm kind of like, well, why did I think it feel this way? But I was sort of like, I wanted to be, I didn't want all signatures to be on one plaque. I kind of wanted the signatures to be separate. But now looking at the plaques, it makes sense to have like the dual signature or the triple signature. Yeah, see, I really like that. I like that a lot.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's always nice when the signee has a nice signature.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love having Phil's signature, but he'll just sign all over the plaque.
That's so cool. I like that. Looks really nice.
It's such a nice touch having, and we mentioned this before, it's great to have actor signatures. It's always fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's even a nicer touch to have the creators' signatures, the people who brought the pieces to life. There's just something different about it.
And covers junk with it.
Censored, like the black censor bar. Any final thoughts on the piece?
Oh man, it's next level. It's definitely better than the Rancor. We didn't think it could get better, but it's better.
I mean, it's hard. It's because the pieces are different in their own right. But you're right. When we had the discussion, because when we got the Rancor, we were like jaws on the floor, remember? And we literally said to each other, how can they top this? Like, what do? We even, I mean, I don't think we were joking. We even had said behind closed doors, like, this almost hurts them because how can they do anything better? The Rancor is just so good in design. And this is living proof that they can top themselves.
Yep.
So Matthew asks, are there really any differences between the sculptures that they need to be numbered? So there's not a difference specifically. I mean, each one's unique in their own right, Matthew, because they are all hand done. They're not coming off an assembly line like most collectibles, mass produced in some type of cast and machine painted. Everything's being done by hand. Everything on it's being applied by hand. So they treat it, you're right, it's not a print. However, they are treating it just like a print is. A print isn't the original painting, but it's a replica of that original painting in a short run, let's say 300 prints, whatever it may be, 100 prints. So what they do is, for the integrity of those prints, they make an addition, and they number it 1 to 100, showing you that you have a unique part of that run. So they do the same here. The numbering is to have a numbering system. It's an addition of 150. So you have numbers 1 through 150. But in addition to that, the fact that it's all hand done and handmade is just basically keeping intact the integrity of the artistic value of the piece.
Yeah, and it's just cool. Like, it's just cool to have, your numbered piece, like your piece in the run. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I like it. I mean, like Matthew says, yeah. I mean, why they don't really have to do it with prints either.
Yeah,
They don't have to. They do it.
but it's more the artistic value. So he asked who received the artist proof of this. So Matthew, initially, when something is commissioned, if it's one person, 5 people, everybody usually receives the artist proof prior to the initial run. In this manner, I think it initially started off because it was only 4 initially, and there was going to be 4 artist proof plaques. What happened was, because it ended up being 6 initial people involved with the commission, once all said and done, they just decided to start with numbers 1 through 6, and those will be deducted from the addition of 150. So technically, there's no artist proof for this specific run. So nobody on this one received an artist proof. And the numbers worked out in a way, I think Tom does it even on commissions, and in the way you pay. For example, like, although I was a little bit more involved in the commission from the early start, Steve, as we were getting people together to make it happen, Steve had came in, but he had gotten number 2, I had gotten number 3, and that's because Tom honors it in the order in which they were paid. So if you were the 4th person to pay or the 5th person to pay, and I think he does it with everything. His maquettes, when he releases like the Gamorrean fighter or whatever it may be, if you're the 1st person to order or the 10th person to order, that's the number you are. Same thing with the chess set. If you're number 15 to order the chess set, then you get number 15. However, the chess set, I think there will be artist proofs, and those go in the rank where there are artist proofs. There's a specific amount that are allocated to Disney, some that are allocated to Lucasfilm, and then anybody that's involved in the project directly or indirectly, one way or the other. Somebody who's a creator, contributor, participant in making the project come to life has the option of receiving an artist proof. Yeah, no problem. Aaron, I can't answer that. I think it may have been for obvious reasons.
Why he doesn't have a penis?
Yeah. I mean, just like when Luke says in the behind the scenes, like, they were worried why wasn't the Wookiee wearing lederhosens? Like, why was the Wookiee naked?
He probably didn't have a penis because they didn't have anyone. They couldn't find anyone to freaking run it. They had all their little people running the freaking Jabba tail and shit like that. They couldn't find anybody.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he might have had one. Look at Matt Chip make fun. Yeah. Yeah, it's just incredible. Like, it was fun watching Jason and Chris open theirs. That was really cool, and I was looking forward to this, but it's just, I mean, once you see it in front of you, it's nuts.
It takes some time to process.
Yeah, there's just a lot to look at. I mean, because the concrete looks so real, it's so good. That's one thing. All the wrinkles and like in his feet and hands, and I mean, just the neck and his eyes and his hair. I mean, it's just, there's so much to look at. It's crazy to take in.
Yeah, it's next level.
Yeah, Aaron's saying it's an incredible piece. It really is. And if you guys, this is, I'm so bummed honestly about that we don't have we don't have Comic Cons and stuff for people to go to and see these things in person, right? Like not everyone's going to get this thing. Obviously, it's expensive. But man, if you get a chance to see it in person, like Chris's neighbor Matt, being able to go over to his house and actually see it in front of him. I mean, it changes the way you see the thing. Like it's really impressive. And it's a bummer. It's a bummer we don't have anything like a San Diego Comic-Con or a New York Comic-Con or something like that. I don't know, maybe Regal. I don't know if Regal Robot will go to New York Comic-Con.
I don't know. Do they? Does anybody in the chat know? I'm not sure.
I don't know. That'd be cool though. It'd be cool if people were able to go and see this thing like live. That'd be awesome.
Especially, yeah. I mean, I know San Diego is the big one, but especially New York Comic-Con because it's New York. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get a chance, go check it out. This thing's freaking crazy. Start one. Start one. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but really, really, really amazing. And thanks to everybody for hanging out in the chat. Thanks Tom and all your team for the hard work, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we can't express that enough how amazing this stuff is because there has been a gap for a long time, and not only was something like this much needed, but the fact that we're getting such unique characters and to the level and to the degree at which we're receiving them is just it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Like, remember, there's not a master replica anymore. And everyone's everyone gets so frustrated that like, oh, there's no one making things at that level anymore. This is it.
The golden era of collecting is over. Yeah. Now I feel like this is the platinum era.
This is it. I mean, this is where, I feel like, I absolutely feel like you're getting the best quality, the most researched and just they do such a killer job. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's just out of this world.
Yeah, after seeing this, I gotta say I'm beyond excited for the chess set and really looking forward to getting that in. And I think we're only about 5 months off from the chess set.
I mean,
approximately 5 or 6 months off.
Yeah, I would. Isn't it? But ends at the end of the year, or is it
August, September, October, November, December, January? So I think it's end of year or early winter. So I think early 2022 is when they're going to start shipping. I know that like they're already in production and they're rocking and rolling, but you have to factor in packaging and shipping and getting everything ready. So I think anywhere between like January and March, but it's not too far off.
How do you think that's going to work, Jason? Because they don't have a ton of space in their warehouse. So as they get batches done, they have to get them out the door, right? I mean, they can't just.
Correct. Because you also have to keep in mind that Regal Robot is also Tom Spina Designs. So in one area, they're doing restorations and movie props and what have you. And in another area, they're working on these pieces. So that was a question I had when they upped Sal to 150. I'm like, we can't have 150 of these sitting around.
Right.
But what I assume is they're going to do something similar to the Rancor, where the first batch of Rancors went out around early March. Mm-hmm. And you still have some, when I was there last week, there was still actually a couple, I think the last handful were still sort of trickling out of the shop. And we're talking down to like 4 or 5 pieces, but they were still trickling out of the shop. So, when you have an edition of 83, I think it was like 20, 40, 60, they did them in batches of 20 because you can't have something of that size, 20 of them taking up, all that space, especially when they're all hand done and they're being painted and the drool and the base and going through that process. They do them in batches. One batch can take anywhere from a month or 2. And, each piece it's not like they're painting this in an hour or two, which was, you know, something that was spoken about the Rancor, which was really misleading. I mean, one piece can take up to a week alone to paint one, but it goes through a process, like I said.
Yeah.
Like Matt, you'd work on one part of it, I'd work on another, so it goes through this, you know, system of getting done. But yeah, I mean, 150 of these, yeah, that's, I would assume 25 at a time, and then all in maybe 6 batches total, so over like a 3 or 4 month time frame.
Right.
And then, which is also important as to how and when you order it. So let's say this piece doesn't sell in a half hour. Let's say it sells out over a couple days. The earlier you order it, the sooner you get it. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule. Like, I think one of our group members, Mike, is it Collier? Am I saying that correctly? Collier?
Yeah.
He specifically chooses a number that he goes with each time. And although Regal Robot can't always accommodate that, there are certain situations where they can, other times where they really can't. But he does it in a way where he knows, hey, if I'm getting number X, then I'm gonna wait till batch 2 or 3. So yeah, I mean, it's all about, you know, how it's done, but it's, you know, it makes a difference. The fact that they're made right here in the USA, the fact that, you know, right there in the studio, the same place where they sit next to screen use props from some of our most favorite beloved movies. I mean, these things are being made and painted and done right then and there by hand, and it's amazing. And I think the chess sets are interesting, Matt, when you asked, only because you have, what, 10 pieces total, plus you have the body slam and the 2 packs. And so, yeah, that's why I think they're sort of moving through those quickly, in that sense of, let's try to get the more complex pieces done, or maybe some of the more simplistic pieces done. So I think they have their own way of approaching that and getting it so it doesn't become too overwhelming. Because there's a lot going on at any given time, and when you have pieces that you're making by hand, yeah, it can get overwhelming. But I don't know. It's just it never ceases to amaze me. I don't know why. I always feel like, oh, you know, it's what it is. It's going to be a great piece, and then you see it, and it's just shock and awe, and you're just taken aback by it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Aaron, happy birthday, brother. Enjoy
Happy 45th, Aaron.
Hope you had a good day and enjoy the day tomorrow as you recover.
Yeah.
That's sure that's gonna be great. Chris, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Aaron saying it's really amazing that they do this at all. We're so lucky to be alive at this time when we're getting these things that we truly are fond of at reasonable prices. Yeah, and look, I'm not gonna sit here and say this wasn't cheap. This isn't expensive. Let's say. I get it. We understand that it's not. They're not cheap. They're not. You know, you're spending money on something that you know that is special, but it's still a lot of money. And yeah, you know, it is what it is. But the question is, do you want it in your collection or not? Is it worth it to you? It may not be. It may not be worth selling a couple things to pick this up, or, you know, spending the money on this versus something else. And that's okay. It just depends on what you want in your collection, how you want your collection to evolve, and what you want it to be. I get it. You know, that it's not for everybody, and that's okay. You know, and so, but if it's for you and you can find a way to do it, you should do it. It's incredible.
I think it's interesting, Matt, that Aaron had mentioned at a reasonable price. So sticker shock is always the biggest, first and foremost thing I hear from most collectors after a Regal Robot release or upcoming release details. But I say this all the time. I don't know if I say it publicly, but when I'm talking to people one-on-one, and people who own pieces will understand this, it's one of those things where, yes, the price is always like, it takes your breath away for a minute. But when you get the piece in person, when you have it in hand, it's not even a second thought. Like, it just, that sticker shock is no longer a shock. It's more of an appreciation of, wow, I really, not only did I get what I pay for, but it has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, I agree, dude. It's impressive. It's amazing to me when we're the face of something is what you always look at,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're humans.
Yeah, it's
That's
natural.
it's natural. But that to me, that's not even the most impressive part about this thing. Like the feet and the legs and the arms and like the body, that it's just incredible. Like it's just crazy.
It is. And Chris Crow makes a good point. He said, the fact that it's super expensive, you're getting something in hand that's basically taken right off the movie set. Exceptional quality and attention to detail. And yes, Chris, that's exactly what I was just saying. So there's the sticker shock, which always gets talked about, and the price factor, which for obvious reasons it's natural as collectors to talk about that. But like I said, once you have these pieces in hand, again, you have such a fond appreciation for what you receive that the price just it doesn't become it's no longer a thing. It just diminishes all those thoughts you had regarding a price because it just exceeds expectation every time. I mean, look at Matt's reaction. I mean, that's genuine. That's exactly the reaction I had, where you stare at it. You just sort of get lost in it for a moment and get taken aback by the detail and how realistic and amazing it looks. It's just phenomenal that we're able to, and it's great that we have the opportunity to put these things in our collection. It really is.
Yeah, I just don't have many words to say at this point. I mean, I usually do have words to say, but that's just nuts. Like it's crazy when you got to think about this. Like usually when you get something like this is like an afterthought.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? This piece right here is just like, oh yeah, let's give him something to sit on.
A little accessory, yeah.
This is crazy. Like this is as crazy to me as this is.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did this. Like this looks like a piece of concrete that they literally found.
They found it or broke it off something, yeah.
They found and broke it off and freaking maybe did a little bit of weathering, but it looks like a genuine piece of concrete. I don't know what to say. And then he looks like he was just ripped right out of the movie, right? I mean,
he does. Yeah. It looks like you walked into the archives and they said, "Hey, pick something," and you walked out with Salacious and put them on your shelf.
And I think the other thing that's amazing to me is, look, the Rancor's impressive as it is. It's an impressive piece. It's amazing. They did a great job with that. But this is a 1-to-1. So even at the price you're paying, you feel like you're getting a lot for what it is because it's a 1-to-1 piece. Like this is it. This is it. This is what was on on screen essentially. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. So, well, you think, is that good, Jay? You want to cut it?
Yeah. It's almost 1 a.m. I was actually, like I said, I worked an extra day. I've been away for about 4 days now, and I came in and I was actually sleeping when you dozed off when you called. You knew it, huh?
Yeah.
But now I got up to jump on, and
I appreciate that. So. Thanks for your time, man, and everyone in the chat. Thanks for your time. We didn't schedule this or anything. I got home and I was like, I got home and I didn't want to wait anymore. Like I couldn't open in this thing until freaking like it was either tonight or Friday or Saturday or something. So I was like, F it, let's do it tonight. So,
and I'm happy you did.
Yeah, me too. It's an impressive piece, guys. If you can pick it up, if it's not your thing, I totally get it. So,
and thanks, guys. Real quick before we go, remember for those that are a little bit hesitant in picking it up, if you really love this piece, keep in mind, I think it's an 8 payments of 500 a piece.
I think so.
So it's really reasonable. I mean, you're looking at 500 a month for 8 months, and it lines up around the time it gets released. So it's
reasonable, reasonable compared to collectibles.
Right. I mean, talking collectibles, it's reasonable. Yeah. But if it's a piece, if it's a must-have, then take that into consideration. So.
Yeah. So. Aaron says, I've seen like 4 unboxings on this thing from you guys, and it's still awesome. Yeah, man. It really is incredible. It just, and you know, I'm sure you'll see more content on this guy. There's other people doing content on this guy. I'm sure you'll see that stuff. I'm sure it'll be good. And then, what was I going to say? I think we'll probably do, I think we'll probably do some more stuff with him at some point. I'm not sure what, or if we will, but it seems like an appropriate thing to do for something like this,
Mhm.
as amazing as this. So we'll see if we can do some more,
Yeah.
but either way, guys, yeah, we appreciate you hanging out. I know it's just kind of a last minute thing, so thanks for your time, guys. We might do some more stuff this week. I'm not sure, Jay. Do you know if we're doing anything else this week?
I don't know. I know my schedule's pretty hectic, but I think we might have one thing coming up by end of the week. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but yeah, we'll post in the group if we
not,
do.
we'll see. I'll talk to Chris. He might want to just jump on and chat, so we'll see.
Well, yeah, we get that whole Nuovo no, I don't know, Novos Part 2,
A Novos
which
2
is just
thing to talk
blowing
about.
up the community right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got some interesting feedback from them today, which I'd like to share. So yeah, maybe we can jump on and just talk shop, talk collectibles, and
Yeah.
you know,
We'll try to
yeah.
we'll try to make that happen. Yeah, otherwise, guys, have a good night, have a good week, and we'll try to see it. Hopefully we'll get on at some point. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Good night.